A vicious cycle of escalating tensions and miscommunication drove a wedge between Britain and the colonies. British actions, perceived as tyrannical by the colonists, were met with increasing resistance. This resistance, in turn, was interpreted by the British as defiance of legitimate authority. Let's consider an analogy. Imagine a parent-child relationship where the child has raised themselves due to the parents' busy schedules. When the child gets into trouble, the parents eager to reassert control enact strict punishments. The child, however, feels unfairly targeted after years of independence. They argue, "Why are you suddenly imposing rules when I've been managing on my own?" The parents, frustrated, insist on their authority. This breakdown in communication deepens the resentment on both sides. Similarly, the colonists felt increasingly self-sufficient after decades of self-governance. British attempts to tighten control, like tax measures, were seen as infringements on their liberties. These actions fueled a growing sense of alienation among the colonists. Furthermore, inflammatory rhetoric by some colonists further poisoned the well. Much like how some news channels today focus on negativity, certain colonists sensationalized British actions, portraying them in the worst possible light. This tactic aimed to inflame public opinion against Britain. The colonists, primed to see British actions as tyranny, readily accepted this hostile narrative. Conversely, the British interpreted colonial resistance as defiance rather than a genuine belief in self-determination. Fueled by misunderstandings and mistrust, the relationship deteriorated to a point where compromise became nearly impossible. This combustible environment ultimately led to the American Revolution. The Tea Act of 1773 serves as a microcosm of the larger conflict between Britain and the colonies. On the surface, the act appeared to benefit the colonists. The British East India Company, facing financial ruin, was granted a monopoly on tea sales in America. The Tea Act lowered the overall cost of tea, potentially saving colonists money. However, the colonists saw this act through a lens of deep mistrust. They completely disregarded the potential economic benefit for the following reasons. Taxation without representation. The Tea Act included a tax on tea. Colonists, adhering to the principle of no taxation without representation, felt they shouldn't be taxed by a parliament in which they had no voice. The tax itself became a symbol of British tyranny, not a revenue generator. A monopoly disguised as a bargain. The colonists viewed the East India Company's monopoly with suspicion. They feared price hikes in the future, even if the initial price was lower. More importantly, being forced to buy from a single source eroded their economic independence. The Tea Act perfectly illustrates the communication breakdown. The British, seeking to save a failing company and potentially benefit colonists with cheaper tea, completely misread the situation. The colonists, fueled by a long history of grievances and a deep-seated belief in self-determination, saw the act as yet another attempt at control and exploitation. This miscommunication and mistrust ultimately led to the Boston Tea Party, a pivotal event on the road to the American Revolution. This concludes our lecture on the Great War for Empire and its consequences in the British colonies in America. Please proceed to answer the questions in the assignment on Canvas. If you have any questions, you can post them in the open forum discussion or contact the professor using Canvas email.